So this is the final video on quality of life, module 2, in which we focus on the factor well-being. This factor contains the domains emotional well-being, physical and material well-being. But we also added an extra factor, which we call spiritual existential well-being. So emotional well-being is about psychological well-being, self-esteem, and about the absence of stress. It's about growing old, free of pain and discomfort, and about being free of worries or any concerns. In general, aging adults with intellectual disability report a relatively high levels of emotional well-being. Psychological changes that occur within this population are in fact similar to the general population, but these are some aspects that might lead to a lower level of emotional well-being. And these are a diminished level of energy and quality of sleep, augmented anxiety and insecurities, feelings of loss and mourning, loneliness, difficulties to process new information, dementia, and fear of becoming more dependent on others for the daily care and mobility. Now, feelings of stress and anxiety are much higher in this particular group when they are occupied about things that are happening to their lives, which they don't have a control about. For instance, they worry a lot about major life changes prior to their actual retirement. They stress about whether or not they have to change their residence and when and how they are able to, what they are going to do when they lose their loved ones. So these are aspects that become more of an issue when people with intellectual disability also age. So, what are the questions that we need to ask ourselves when augmenting the emotional well-being of this particular group? So, the questions that I would ask myself is: do I know what are the wishes of my clients concerning aging and retirement? Do I know their fears? How do I assess that their knowledge and understanding about the process of aging and what is happening? Do I support my clients in making their own choices enough? So this about emotional well-being. The second one is on physical well-being. What do we already know from previous module is that aging adults with intellectual disability are more likely than the general population to have multiple comorbidities and to have a lower life expectancy that increases as severity of the intellectual disability decreases. Frailty and deterioration of quality of life are often due to restricted access to preventive health care as well as unhealthy lifestyle. So it's the combination of both. Many aging adults with intellectual disability, they take high doses of different medication, eat unhealthy foods, and live sedentary lives, and are as a consequence of overweight. So besides preventive surveillances of health risks, this population group can improve health by taking on healthier lifestyles, better nutrition, and more exercises. But aging adults with intellectual disabilities sometimes report positive feelings about their health conditions when they retire. For instance, prior to retirement, some may feel that their level of functioning does not correspond with their ability to perform work tasks. Despite efforts, really efforts from their workplace to provide tasks that work and fit with their level of functioning and limitations, they can be still in pain or feel tired. Some may report decreased coping skills at the end of their working lives and have a decreased sense of coping. So for them, retirement is more of a blessing than a punishment. After retirement, they may be able to relax more, they feel more energetic, and have time to enjoy other things, other activities more. So, the statement that I would like to make here is that as caretaker, it is important to be alert for a decrease in the level of functioning of the client to facilitate healthy aging and a good quality of life. So then we have the third component, which is, or let's say, quality of life domain, which is the well-being, material well-being. The living accommodation of a person is an indicator of well-being of a person. Most aging people wish to stay in their familiar environment as long as possible. This wish is the same as for other people, I think. For a lot of people with disabilities, it isn't simple to define their place to be home due to several changes that occur during their life. Let's say a lot of people can choose where to live. According to the concept of quality of life, it's important that we all feel at home, having personal stuff, familiar furniture, clothes, photos, books, televisions, and living in a cozy and familiar environment. And there are indicators, these are the indicators for material well being. Also, the adjustment of a living environment to the needs of the aging adults with intellectual disability is an important factor to realize aging in place. Having enough financial resources and having a say in how to spend their money also contribute to material well-being. Also, here we notice that for aging adults with intellectual disability, financial means and not the client themselves determines where and how one can live and can be supported or not. So, here are some questions that could help guide support actions. Are my clients happy with their current living situations? Do I know their wishes for the future? Do they wish to age in place or would they rather move to another place? Does my client have access to personal stuff? And so on. So, finally, there is the spiritual well being as a domain that we added to tackle questions such as: who am I now that I'm aging? What gives meaning to my life? How can I still contribute to society? Why or who will still care for me when my parents die? What will happen to me when I become sick? And what if I die? These existential questions are no different from the ones we might ask ourselves. However, for aging adults with intellectual disability, these topics are often not discussed. Apparently, we as caregivers tend to avoid such sensitive subjects because of our fear that the information we give might upset the client or might not be adjusted to the level of understanding of my client. We might fear their reactions and not know how to handle them. We perhaps use the phrases, she wouldn't really understand it, or I didn't mention the topic in order to protect him, or his family doesn't want us to tell him. So these are very um, so we might forget that aging adults with intellectual disability have already a lot of experience with lots of changes in life, and some of them are resilient and flexible. Others might need extra support to handle or talk about existential stuff. So here are some guidelines that might help us in addressing these sensitive topics. What is my client's current framework or background of knowledge? What does he understand about what is happening in his life right now? What does he understand about the future? How much more could he be helped to understand? What knowledge chunks could and should be added to his current framework of knowledge? So now I have come to the end of my presentations. I hope the videos on quality of life have been insightful and will help you in your future endeavors to maintain or augment the quality of life of aging adults with intellectual disability. I thank you for your